Okay, ready for step 3. Step 3 is where we will just draw in pencil or watercolor pencil. You draw 3 circles of different sizes. Now, how are you going to draw a circle? Find anything that's a circle. I'm using the bottom of this. I can use the outside edge of this tape or the inside edge. And I just want different size circles. And I need to have enough circles that about a fifth of my paper would be covered. In other words, you don't want such a big circle that's going to eat up all of your paper. I guess you could do that, but I think it might cause a problem later on. So but you can overcome that. Like I said, you can do anything you want to, but trying to keep it within the realm of not causing problems. Let's keep it down to 3 different size circles. We're going to use pencil to outline. And when you do outline in pencil, you don't want it real heavy, but you don't want it too light. Because as you add layers and layers to it, you might lose that pencil line. You want to lose it at the end, but you don't want to lose it in the middle. Now, where should the circles be? Well, when you have something like this, you can go around and say, okay, that's an interesting breakup of space, the way the red and the white interact. Here's another interesting one. That's very interesting. I might want to do that. Or what about here? I'm just looking around to see what I like. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this one here, maybe more like that. I'm going to do this one. I really like that area right there. So I'm going to try to manage to save some of that. And notice I'm leaving a lot of the white in there. I like this little area here where it backwashed a little bit. So I want to have that inside the circle. Now I'm going to put another one. Let's see. Where do I want it? Here, this has a little V to it, has a little bit more interesting. Now I could put it over here where there is that white printing, and that would be fine too. I mean, there's no thing that's going to be wrong, but I think I'm going to do it right here. Oh no, maybe right here. Yeah, right there. That sounds good. Okay, now here we go. I'm just going to take my pencil, hold it down, and make a circle. Now, you see how dark that is? That's not real dark. I didn't press down real hard, but it's dark enough it's going to last through the different washes that we do. And then I'm going to do one here. There we go. Now I'm going to try one with a watercolor pencil. You don't have to do this, but I thought I'd just try just so you can see what it's like. Now with the watercolor pencil, you can go pretty heavy because this is going to disperse as you add water to it. So now we have our three different circles. And we're going to now paint around the circles with light watered down color. Now I've already used, on mine, I've used yellow and red, and they're warm colors. I think I'm going to stay with the warm colors. So I could maybe make a little orange, or I could stay with the yellow. Yellow is usually such a light color. In watercolor, you always go from light to dark. So it's pretty safe to go in and start with yellow. Now, everything is dry on here. So since everything is dry, when you add watercolor to it, it's not going to move this watercolor underneath it. But it will move it if once you have put the watercolor on and it wets this and then it gets these molecules start moving, and then you come back and brush it, it will move it. Then you'll blend. So you're going to use that knowledge for many things. Now, this right here this is a sable brush. This is what you call a traveler's brush because it will go like this and you can travel with it. And it has a little hole here so that it does not get moisture. It can dry out. But if you have a brush that has a good point to it, because when you paint this, you're going to have it get as close to that line without going over it as you possibly can. Notice how my brush is attacking it. It's not going like this on the outside. We're attacking the circle and we're keeping it like this. Now, if you have to turn your paper to do it, do it. You know, if you can't do it like this, where you're moving your brush around, then you're going to go in and move your paper around where it's comfortable for you. Now you're going to wet your brush with water first, so you get it soft and moldable. You add your yellow. Now what I'm doing, I'm just doing yellow. And I am just going in and making it thin. I'm putting a lot of water in on it with it, so that when I brush it on here, it is going to be very, very thin. So you can see everything underneath it. It's just staining the paper the yellow. Now, while this is still wet, I'm going to, see this is sharp edge inside. This is still a sharp edge out here. So now I'm going to take this sharp edge and I'm going to start adding a little water to my brush and pulling that sharp edge out until that sharp edge is no longer a sharp edge, but it just fades out into what else you have out here. So you only have a sharp edge against the watercolor, against the circle. Again, attack it. Try to get that as sharp. You don't want to go over that. So as you go around, you don't want this to dry either out here, because if it dries, then it's harder to fade out. And of course, I have a little bit of a problem here because this won't move on me. I can move a little bit myself to get my brush in line with the edge. Now, see, if I go in here and I keep brushing this right here, this is going to turn orange because the yellow is mixing with the red. Is that terrible? Nah, it's not terrible. It's just what it is. And just let that fade out to nothing. See how with a little bit of water, it just fades out to nothing. But all of a sudden, this is sticking out. This is popping. And that's what you want it to do. You want the circle to pop. So we're going to go in through this one here too. It doesn't take a lot, but you do need to have a little pool of yellow on your plate or whatever, wherever you have on your tin lid of your praying watercolors. But you need to have a decent size pool so you can just go in there and grab it fast, so that you aren't ending up with having to stop and mix. Now notice when the yellow goes over the red, it changes the value of the red. And if I don't keep going over it, if I just leave it on there like that, it'll just change it. And I don't have got a little bit of red in my brush, but not much. And I'm going to get this much. Now, if I get a puddle of water going like there, I can just take my brush, squeeze it with a towel, and now my brush becomes a sponge, and it will sponge up the water, and I can get rid of the edge. Voila. So you have a brush that can add paint and water and subtract paint and water. Now, what if you go inside? Then you just or you put your hand down, it gets in something. Big deal. Nah. All this is teaching you right now how to control. And the more you paint, the more control you have. because you are now fine-tuning these little muscles in your hand. If you're an athlete, you know that practice makes perfect as far as your muscles go. And you can do so much more with muscles that are fine-tuned and exercised. Well, that same thing with painting. The more you do, the more fine-tuned your muscles are in your hand and your arm and your wrist, all these areas that you are using. And now you see I had a little bit of orange in there, but since this is still wet, it blends quite nicely. I want it to blend out. I don't want to have any little lines that looks like I went in and right there. I don't like that. Of course, this is going to dry lighter, but I just dried my brush. And notice I don't wring my brush. I just squeeze my brush. And this could be a piece of paper towel or a Kleenex. Doesn't matter. And there we go. Now you let that dry. Okay? Voila.